Welcome to our video on populating Blackboard with technology-based materials. In this particular video, we will be going over the process of uploading the technology resources that you have been creating in the previous parts of the course into Blackboard. By this time, you should have created your materials, the materials that you see listed here in the overview, your text-based materials like handouts and study guides and workbooks, and your hyperlesson. You should have created a multimedia-based material. That's your video that you did for us in Screencast-O-Matic. The visual-based materials, which is PowerPoint presentations and the more advanced interactive PowerPoint lesson. And web-based, a web page, and then the more advanced virtual tour. So this will be a short demonstration just to show you the technical side of uploading these materials into Blackboard. We're going to begin with populating Blackboard with text-based materials and hyperbooks. This is fairly easy to do. The objective is now to help you populate your personal Blackboard shell. Okay, now remember, you should have a course tab with your name on it in our Blackboard course that we're doing together. So there's one for each student in our course, and inside there you should have already begun to prepare folders. Those folders could represent weeks of a semester, outcomes of a course, wherever you want to do it, but you should have created about 8 of those. Okay, and so now what we're going to do is we're going to populate those folders with text-based resources and hyperbook lessons. And again, we're going to assume that you have already created these text-based resources. Okay. For the text resources, you're going to begin by selecting which folder is going to contain your material. So go to your course tab, go into the folder that you want, whether it's lesson 3 or objective 5 or whatever it might be. Like you see here. So there's an example, clicking on the course outcome, for example. Once you get in there, you're going to go up and you're going to build content and you're going to select item. Okay? You're going to select item. That's how you upload Word documents. Once you've done that, you're going to get a create item page and you're going to supply some very important information. For example, you're going to supply the name. That's what will show up on the Blackboard site. I suggest that you keep the names simple. I suggest maybe that you keep them with the same name as you called the file itself, so that students are not confused. Okay. After you put the name in there, there's a box for text information. You can put something in there like click on this link to download the workbook that you're going to use or the hyperlesson for this week, whatever it might be. You're going to browse your computer, which will open up this dialog box that you will take to the folders on your computer that contains your text-based materials. Click on the file. It will attach down at the bottom, and you will click on Submit to actually create the item in that folder. Pretty straightforward. I want you to complete the uploads of your text-based documents to include at least one of each resource. So maybe put a workbook in week 1 and put the hyperlesson in week 8, whatever you might, however you want to do it. But I want you to create both of those, text-based material and a hyperbook. They can be placed again in either one course objective, maybe you want to put them both in the same one, or you can spread them out across several, as I just explained. When you complete this practice, notify me that you have finished uploading your hyperbook and your text lessons, and be sure to tell me where they are so I don't have to go hunting for them. There's going to be 8 folders there. Tell me it's in week 5 and I can go right there. What I will do then is, as quickly as I can, is I will review your completed materials using the rubric that was presented in the Blackboard course objectives. Okay, so you know what I'm going to be looking at. I will review that, I will assign points to it, and I will drop that rubric in the same folder that your materials are in. So if your workbook is in week 1, that's where you're going to see the rubric for week 1. If your hyperbook is in week 6, that's where you're going to see the rubric for the hyperbook. Okay? The next thing I want to talk about is populating Blackboard with our videos. This one, again, we're assuming that you have created a video using Screencast-O-Matic or whatever video capture you decide to use. This one is pretty much the same as the previous, not that hard. Number 1, identify what folder it's going to be in, and then build content and select video. Once you've done that, you'll give it a name, same as we did before. You'll find the file in your on your computer. You'll select that file by browsing the computer. It will attach the file, and again, you will submit it. Okay. Now, for the videos, again, I'd like you to create at least one video. Now, this is a little different. You can do what we just showed you, which is putting the video as a link onto your web page, onto your course. Or you can actually take the video and infuse it into another resource, like an interactive lesson. A lot of the students will do the video and they'll make it the introduction to the interactive lesson. Okay, that's a pretty good way to do it too. Either way, once you've done that, please let me know where it is, and I will run the rubric against your video and get you feedback as quickly as I can. The next group is our visual-based materials, the PowerPoint presentations, and the interactive lessons. Here you need to have already created these. The interactive lesson will take you the most amount of time, so try to get started on that as soon as possible. Okay, and again, I'm going to assume that you have already created these resources. Populating Blackboard is almost like populating with text-based materials. Same thing. Determine the folder, build your content, and go back to like we did with the text-based materials and click on Item. Now, though, instead of adding a Word document, of course, we're going to be adding PPT, PowerPoint presentations. But the beginning is the same. Give it a good lesson name. Okay. Add text information in there to make it easy on the student. Browse your computer. Go out and find either your interactive lesson or your PowerPoint presentation, and then attach the files and click Submit. Pretty straightforward, isn't it? I want you to complete the upload of your visual lessons and the interactive lessons. I want at least one of each. So you might put the PowerPoint presentation in week 4. You might put the interactive lesson in week 6. Whatever works for you. You're the instructor. Again, as before, once you've completed the exercise, notify me as to where your visual-based materials and your interactive lesson is, so I can go out and find it. You can, of course, do that with an email. You will receive the same kind of feedback. We've got rubrics for both of those. I'll complete the rubrics and I'll drop them in the same folder as those materials. And then finally, we're going to talk about the web. This is going to be a little bit different, so I want you to pay attention to this particular. And it starts off with this really important note. You watched videos in weeks 4 and 5, I think it was, that demonstrated how to prepare web-based materials and how to create the virtual tour. But it not only showed you how to do that using Microsoft Word, but it then showed you how to use Word to convert those files to HTML. Well, that'll work fine if you've got a place where you can store your web-based materials. You don't in this particular case. When you get into the advanced course, I'll show you how to upload those into YouTube presentations, and that'll take care of the problem. But for now, since HTML files require a computer, such as your school's website, to host those files, for this particular course, I want you to save your web pages and your virtual tours in the original Microsoft Words that you used to create them. Does that make sense? Don't convert them into HTML yet, or even if you do, that's fine. But when it comes time to populating Blackboard, put the Word document in there. That way we can actually look at them and play with them, and they'll work just fine. We'll go over this procedure again when we hit our synchronous session that's coming up right behind this course outcome. So kind of keep it in mind, but that's what I want you to do. So here we're going to be adding our web-based resources and our virtual tour in pretty much the same way as we did documents. Determine the folder that your web page is going to be in. Determine the folder that your virtual tour is going to be in. Build content and select an item. Once you've done that, give it a name. Tell them what's there. Give them an idea what's in the link, and then browse your computer and download the Word document. Do not download a website, okay? Because it won't work correctly. So once you've downloaded the web page or the virtual tour, then click on Submit. The web-based and the virtual tour will probably be the last things that you upload, but again, I want to see at least one of each resource. At least one web page that's not a virtual tour, and then one virtual tour that follows the front doors that we introduced to you in the previous course outcomes. Okay. Again, let me know when you've got it done, and I will do the rubrics and send them back to you. So there we go. That's how you're going to populate Blackboard with your technology-based materials. Also, feel free to help each other. If you're trying something and it's not working for you, you can post a question. You can send an email to the others in your class. Remember, this particular course, you're going to actually be designated as a course instructor, as a moderator, which means you have total control of this course the same way I do. So you'll be able to send email to your other students in the class. Okay? So as you're finishing this course objective, you're going to be populating Blackboard with all of your technology-based materials. This is to get you ready now for the final course presentation that's going to be at the end of the semester in week 8. And if you have any questions, we're going to be getting together at least 3 times. Once after we do the basic materials, once after we do the advanced materials, and once before we do the final presentation. So you should be able to do this. Now let me give you some caution here. This takes some time. Okay, this is not something you can do the night before this material is due. It takes a while to do these kinds of advanced technology-based resources for an online course properly. Okay, and so with that, I'm going to let you go, and I'll see you at an upcoming synchronous session where we can discuss any questions you might have.